but the buzz after the race was the post-race altercation between Kyle Busch and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Some of it felt like a parody almost, or a meme, or a cartoon episode, the way Stenhouse got knocked out of the race on lap number 2 by an overaggressive Kyle Busch, trapped in the infield, has to wait on Kyle Busch to get out of the car because there's nowhere he can go, and then the little scuffle and the fight ensues, and the kind of stuff that we'll be talking about for 20 years, way long after people remember that Joey Logano actually won the race. Let's hear from Stenhouse.
I'm not sure why he was so mad that I shoved it 3 wide, but I mean, he hit the fence and kind of came off the wall and ran into me, and I don't know, when I was talking to him, he kept saying that I wrecked him. So just definitely built up frustration with how he runs his mouth all the time, about myself. But I know he's frustrated because he doesn't run near as good as he used to.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. throwing a little shade there on Kyle Busch.
Throwing more than shade.
Yeah, that audio from the Fox Network, and we appreciate that. So, Alexis, you touched on that, so we'll start there. He says, well, he doesn't run up front much anymore, but was he justified in hanging around through the entire race after getting knocked out on lap 2 to try to then knock out Kyle Busch?
I mean, I think, well, he certainly didn't have a choice because, as you alluded to, he had to stick around. There was no getting out of the racetrack until the race was over. He stops his car in Kyle Busch's pit stall after he gets wrecked. He goes up, he has conversations with Kyle's team. Then he goes into the media center, talks to the media, where he proclaims that he is going to handle it, I think are the words that he uses. Then he has, I don't know, an hour to sit in his motor coach and think about what he told the media, what happened. Those things start to fester. And I think he thought, I need to go and handle this. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, the thing about Joey Logano dominating the race and the race itself maybe not being the big story gave us so many camera angles of this fight because almost the entire media corps was at Kyle Busch's back as he goes to his hauler, which Ricky Stenhouse is just kind of, casually leaning up against the hauler in his board shorts and T-shirt, waiting for Kyle Busch to get there. And you know what? He handled it.
As I was driving home from North Wilkesboro, I got a call from Mark Garrow at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Mark was still excited because he was in that. He got knocked down and somebody fell on top of him. And Mark was more excited about that than he was anything he saw in the race.
If you're watching the live stream right now, the photo that David Stiles put up, you can see right by Kyle Busch's face is a PRN mic flag. Yeah. That is the microphone being held by Mark Garrow. So that is how close he was to this melee.
If you can see that picture, you can also see 1, 2, 3. There's 4 or 5 cell phones. People just holding them up in the background.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, nobody's really there, and they're all probably watching their phones, not watching the what's going on itself.
All right, let's get the Kyle Busch take. Then I want to hear from Brad.
First lap of the race, we don't even have water temp in the car yet, and we're wrecking each other off at 2. Tired of getting run over by everybody. But that's what everybody does. Everybody runs over everybody to pass everybody.
So that's Kyle Busch. You can hear the celebratory fireworks going off in the background there. Thankfully, our Mark Garrow made it out of there unscathed, although he's got a great story for the rest of his life. Brad Gillie, your take on all this post-race stuff.
All right, so number one, I like it. I want to see the emotion. I want to see the energy. I want to see things being pushed over the edge, and tempers got pushed over the edge. The one thing I don't want to see is everyone else getting involved. I don't think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. need to be thrown over like this was some calf roping event. I don't think his dad needed to be in a shoving and punching match with Kyle Busch, and I'll be curious to see what else comes out of that with crew members. The other thing I love, though, there was a crew member from Kyle Busch's team who was standing on the rear deck of the hauler, where the car lifts up, and he was like basically protecting his territory. Someone would walk up there and he'd throw him off. Someone else would walk up there and he'd throw him off, and that was kind of funny, which that I actually agree with. Like, hey, if you're in my pit, then I'm going to get you out of it. But look, the emotion, this is an emotional sport. I think we need to see. It's okay to see things boil over from time to time because that's how much they're putting into it.
Yeah.
Kyle, we've had these kind of things go on forever. NASCAR loves it. They may not say they love it, but they're still showing footage of 1979 in Daytona. But you made a point before we came on the air that the guys that are in the fights now are different than the ones that were in fights back when you were racing cars.
Listen, okay, so we used to get out and throw punches, and we'd get out and fight and argue. There was no cameras around because they shot the whole race with 2 cameras, 1 and 1, 1 and 2, and 1 and 3 and 4. That was it. So there were no cameras, no cell phones, anything like that. And B, you didn't have to worry about a bunch of ex-NFL players fighting with you too. That's what these guys are. These pit crew guys are ex-pro athletes, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, wrestling, whatever. They are stout, dude, man. That you talk about that guy throwing them off the thing. What was that game you used to play, King of the Hill, where you'd run up on the hill and you just throw people? That's what he was playing, man, and he was winning. He was winning it. But I say this, and I was telling you, I said, the best part about it is we see these teams fighting. When Rusty's team and Darrell's team fought here at Charlotte during the All-Star race, they followed the cars. That you see the footage of them. They all run to the garage area, and by the time they get there, they're leaned over on their legs, going, "You want to fight? No, not me either." It was that kind. That's not what you're going to get today. You're going to get a fight. But here's what I say, and listen, we've all been to that point where you throw. I was a little disappointed in Ricky that he had so long to think about it. And he still came at him. You know what I mean? I think the heat of the moment when you jump out of a car, that moment of passion, caring about it, that I completely understand that. I think, Kyle Busch obviously had blinders on because he did not get wrecked. I will go to my grave saying he got outside the groove. Ricky stuck it in there. We talked about it before. You got to make hay when they drop the green flag. And he just got called out. That's the frustration of not running good. So there were so many misunderstandings, but the one thing is that premeditation of just sitting there, and going at it. I think the physical confrontation, it should have been verbal at that point in time, but not physical.
I think potentially the reason why is because he told the media in a few different ways, I'm going to handle it. And so at that point, he's probably thinking in his head, like, I need to be a man of my word because I said it. It's not like I can be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter because I'm at home sitting on my couch already. I went ahead and left the racetrack. He's there. And he's having that conversation. I think that was probably playing in the back of his head. Like, I said I was going to do this. I kind of got to do it.
Yeah. Listen, I tell my wife a lot of stuff too, and I don't do it. You know what I mean? And it's all behind a closed door. I mean, because I'm running and hiding when I'm saying it. But but I completely understand when you say it, you feel like you have to back it up. But man, I'm still not 100% on that.
I get that.
I do know this, that folks at North Wilkesboro, Speedway Motorsports, and NASCAR, every ad that we see for the All-Star race leading up to next year's running at North Wilkesboro will have that scuffle and Ricky Stenhouse throwing that punch because they know that stuff may not have a place, but it sure resonates with fans.